Alright, hey there guys, Agent Acosta here, KJ95, coming at you guys with another video. So over the next two videos, guys, there's number two, I don't know why I did this. I will be going over one player for each team in terms of like the NFL that I would like to see for Madden 24. Now, I've done this the last couple of years, but this year I'm going to do it a little bit differently, as instead of just showcasing who I want, I'm going to have like, stuff in the background and whatnot. Now, Madden has done really well with a lot of legends. I think we can all agree on that. Guys like Jerry Rice, Gronk this past year was really, really good. Even some like, not necessarily big name legends, but certainly like some other like, players that were really good for specific franchises. Guys like Greg Olson for the Panthers, Lawyer Malloy for the Patriots, even Pete Metzelaars for the Bills, which I had no idea was even a thing until this past year. All those players are really good for, just getting some more legends in the game and more big names. And so this year, I'm going to be going through who I would like to see for each team. Now, this is based off the thread that I made on Twitter. Link to that thread will be in the description. However, I'm going to be changing up a few of them, as quite honestly, some of them I didn't even realize were in the game already, and some of them I just think would probably it would be better to have a different person in that situation for that team. So if you guys do like this video and want to see more, hit the like button below and subscribe if you guys are new. Today we're going to be going over the AFC, and then the next video, which I don't know when it's going to be out, I'm going to go over the NFC. So for the AFC, starting on the AFC North, I have for the Ravens Willis McGahee. Now Willis McGahee was a really good running back for the Ravens, I think for about 4 or 5 years, give or take. He was on one of the Ravens teams that I don't know if he was on that Ravens team that almost beat the Patriots. I think he was on that Ravens team that was in 2007. One of those teams that probably should have made a Super Bowl appearance before they did in 2012. But that Willis McGahee was really, really great for the Ravens. Absolutely was probably the best running back in the league, or at least in the consideration for that when he was with them. Number two for the Steelers, guys, we're going to be going with Franco Harris. Now, there's a lot of Steelers I could put on here, but for the most part, I'm going to go with Franco just because, that is probably the most recognizable out of them all that we have had in recent years. I know we had him in Madden 22. We didn't have him in 23, unfortunately. And with him passing recently, I don't know if we're going to have him for 24, but this is what I would like to have, who I think would be nice to have for the Steelers for Madden 24. Obviously, other guys like Joey Porter could have been on this list. Santonio Holmes, I think, would have been really, really nice as well, but overall, I do think I think Franco is probably the most recognizable out of all the Steelers that I could probably name, other than maybe Big Ben. For the Browns, I'm going to go with Tim Couch. Now, the reason for the Browns, actually, let me change that. I'm going to go with Josh Cribbs. Josh Cribbs, an undrafted kid that ended up being a really, really good return man for the Browns. I think he was an All-Pro for I think it was 2005, give or take. He was an All-Pro with them. A really great return man. Obviously, I think the Browns don't really have a whole lot of history. In fact, some of the best players that have ever played in their franchise, other than maybe Jim Brown, are on their team right now. So yeah, I don't know if I would go with anything else other than maybe Josh Cribbs or even Tim Couch. And then for the Bengals, guys, I'm going to go with Boomer Esiason. Now, obviously, guys like Chad Johnson are already in the game. You also have guys like, Reggie Nelson would be a nice one as well to have. But Boomer Esiason was interesting last year because I don't really know if we ever had a Boomer Esiason, at least in my experience playing MUT before 22. I never saw Boomer. So, having Boomer Esiason back would be a nice little thing. The only problem is he is a lefty QB, and the man players don't really like lefty quarterbacks in terms of scrambling. Which I think is just a simple adjustment that people need to make, but I can understand why people won't do that. Moving on, AFC East, we're going to go with Mark Clayton for the Dolphins. Now, again, this one was another one where I could have gone with guys like Dan Marino. I could have gone with guys like, I think Cameron Wake is already in the game, if I'm not mistaken. And Dan Marino was already in the game as well. In fact, he had a UL this year, and then he was the Team Diamond Master for 22. But Mark Clayton, pretty good receiver for the Dolphins during those mid 80s years with Dan Marino. Really, really great, really solid receiver too. He is very small, only 5'9", I believe, but I think Mark Clayton would be a very, very interesting receiver to have because I think a lot of people don't really write off the short receivers as just somebody that they just don't want to use because they're more concerned about the big, tall receivers. I personally don't really give two shits. I think height doesn't really matter that much, but that's probably just me. Now for the Bills, this was another franchise that was really, really difficult to pick. I could have gone with guys like Jim Kelly. I could have went with guys like Andre Rison. I could have went with guys like I think Cornelius Bennett was another one that was really, really good for them. But ultimately, I'm going to be settling on Thurman Thomas. Thurman Thomas, one of the best running backs of the 90s, definitely was a instrumental component to that Bills historic no-huddle offense that made 4 straight Super Bowls. Ironically, and perhaps hilariously to some people, losing them all. But definitely was a really great player in his day. And obviously, Thurman Thomas was really, really good, I think, in Madden 22 as well. We didn't see him in Madden 23, so hopefully we bring him back as well. So now for the New England Patriots. Now, this one... This one is a little interesting because this is another one where I could have went with a lot of people. Wes Welker, Tom Brady, could have went with Devin McCourty even since he just retired. However, I'm going to go with a sneaky one here. I'm going to say Dante Hightower. A lot of people really do not understand how good Dante Hightower was for the Patriots in those championship seasons with them. And something I didn't even really know until about 2 weeks ago-ish. He was actually the one who made the game-saving tackle for the Patriots at Super Bowl 49. I know, besides the Malcolm Butler pick. He was the one who made that one-arm tackle. And what's crazy is the guy was even playing with like a sore left shoulder, I think, if I remember correctly, in that Super Bowl. So Dante Hightower, I think, would be really, really nice for the Patriots. Gave them quite a bit of years. Rob Ninkovich was another one that I could have went with as a Patriots player because he was another guy who played a lot of great years for them. But I decided to go with Dante as I wanted a little bit of diversity too with the positions I went with. Now for the New York Jets, this one I was a toss-up for a couple between Joe Namath and Don Maynard. I decided to go with Don Maynard. I don't think we've had Don Maynard in the game at all at least since I've been in the community since Madden 21. I don't think we've seen Don Maynard, so I would like to see him in the game. Definitely was a really good receiver during the 60s and even like early 70s. Was a player that a lot of people didn't really give a lot of credit to overall, but I do think he was a good player overall for the team, and I do think that we should be hopefully getting him in Madden 24. Now, moving on to the AFC South. The next one I'm going to be going with is the Texans, and this one was obvious for me. I want Arian Foster in the game. Probably the best running back in the history of the Texans franchise. Actually, not even probably. He is the best running back in the history of that franchise. Was really, really fun to watch him play in the NFL. And hell, even in Madden 21, I think was the last time we saw him, he was a really good running back. That Arian Foster card was a really, really good card to have on your team. I think a lot of people really did enjoy that Arian Foster when he dropped into the game. And I don't know if he got another upgrade after Madden 21 in that game. I don't know if he got like a power-up expansion or if he got like a UL or something. But Arian Foster, really great player. Definitely would love to see him back. Moving on to Jacksonville. This one was a toss-up between Jimmy Smith and Fred Taylor. But I'm going to go with Jimmy Smith because now for the Colts, this one, I originally did put down Marvin Harrison. I originally put down Marvin Harrison for the Colts. However, I'm changing this one to Andrew Luck. I don't know why we don't have Andrew Luck in the game. Now, there could be a lot of things with that, but in my personal opinion, please get Andrew Luck in the game. A lot of people want to see him in the game, especially my guy Dom. He would love to see Andrew Luck in the game, and myself included. Andrew Luck was a really great player. Shame his career had to ended so soon because he just lost interest in football and lost his love for the game. But let us play with Andrew Luck. If he wants to be in the game, let us have him in the game. Meet him with whatever compensation he wants for money purposes. Give him what he wants and go from there. Now, Tennessee Titans. This one was also interesting because I could have gone with guys like Kevin Dyson, who was on that Super Bowl run team in '99. I almost said Steve McNair, but he's already in the game. Steve McNair is in the game. You look at some other Titans players like Eddie George, for example, but that's the one who I went with was Eddie George. Last time we saw him was Madden 21 as a team captain, I believe, and then he got a UL later on in the year. But Eddie George, really good running back for the 2000s. I think he was really, really good overall. One of the better power backs in NFL history that not many people talk about. And his card in Madden 21, if I remember correctly, was pretty good. Now, I don't think I used him. I think I used the defensive tackle. I cannot remember who the defensive tackle was. I think it was Eddie Glover or something like that. I can't remember who the DT was for the team captains, but I used him mostly. But Eddie George was pretty good for the for the game overall. And I think it would be nice to have like a big back, another big back in the game, because we got a lot of big backs like Derrick Henry. Josh Jacobs is a relatively bigger back. You know, you also got guys like trying to remember another big. You get it. So it'd be kind of cool. LeGarrette Blount potentially could be in the game as well, which I'll probably touch on that in the NFC one. So yeah, that is it for the AFC South. Moving on, lastly for this video, to the AFC West. Denver Broncos, give me Peyton Manning. I know a lot of people probably will rather see him for the Indianapolis one, but I went Peyton Manning for the Broncos because I wanted to have Andrew Luck on this list somehow. Peyton Manning, part of that, the greatest offense, in my opinion, the single greatest offense in NFL history with the 2013 Denver Broncos. Really, really great team with him. And Peyton Manning had probably the best year of his career that year, other than maybe 2004 and 2003. One of those years. But we had him in Madden 22. A lot of people really didn't like him because he wasn't very fast and mobile, which Madden 22 was the year of the mobile quarterbacks, so it kind of makes sense why people didn't really like him. Now, Madden 24 could be another year for mobile quarterbacks, but I do think pocket quarterbacks will have a spot in the meta as well. So maybe give us Peyton Manning, see what we can do with him, you know, and go from there. For the Los Angeles Chargers, almost said San Diego Chargers, I want Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers is another player that, you know, was really good. I think Phillip Rivers was one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL during his time. Wasn't absolutely like an MVP kind of QB, like, you know, guys like Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers during those years. But Phillip Rivers was still really, really good overall. And I think, you know, they brought back Drew Brees after he retired in Madden 2020. He retired. They brought back Drew Brees. Might be time to bring back Phillip Rivers, the guy that ultimately took his starting spot. Fun fact for those that don't know, take his starting spot for the Chargers. So it'd be nice to have the Chargers, and that way Chargers fans can have Phillip Rivers, LT, and Antonio Gates, because Antonio Gates and LT are in the game. Be nice to have all of those guys if you're a Chargers fan, and relive some of those glory years. For the Chiefs, I'm going to go with Derek Thomas. This is another one where I could have went with a couple of other ones for them. Like, I could have went with Alex Smith for the Chiefs. I could have went with, there was Dante Hall, but Dante Hall's already in the game. Alex Smith, he's not in the game yet. Maybe they'll bring him back. But Derek Thomas, really, really good card. In Madden 22, he was fantastic as a pass rusher, especially when his playoff legend card that he got for that year. I think it was like a 96 overall powered up. But yeah, Derek was incredibly good. I think he should be in the game. Obviously, if they can't get him in the game, I understand, but it is what it is with that. And then lastly, guys, for the Oakland Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders in this case, is another quarterback, but this one is a bit more unorthodox. I'm going to go with Rich Gannon. Rich Gannon was a MVP QB for them. Definitely one of the better quarterbacks during those years with the Raiders. Was really good. I think, you know, a lot of people really didn't like him in Madden 21. I know Throne was very against Rich Gannon, so much so that he actually tweeted at Rich Gannon and said his card fucking sucked, which was hilarious. I love that. That was just great. But Rich Gannon, I think, you know, the abilities he even got too. Like, I think it was the first one to get Gunslinger and Hot Route Master at the same time for Madden 21, which was a huge deal at the time. For that game specifically, because obviously not many people, I think, can only get one or the other, not both. With him getting both was just a world breaker for the meta in that sense. But that is going to be my AFC players I would like to see back for Madden 23-4. Let me know in the comments, who do you guys want to see? But until then, I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm out. Peace.